Anyone who just watched that just watched one of the greatest games in San Francisco 49ers franchise history. One of the great games in NFL history. This is an instant classic. The 49ers beat the Bears 42-38, and the dream of the #1 seed and the home path right here at Levi's Stadium, we're standing in the engineering room, stays alive for San Francisco. By the skin of their teeth, the Bears lined up from the 2-yard line. 49ers defense hadn't been able to stop a nosebleed essentially all game. Chicago essentially ran out of time. 4 seconds to go. It was going to come down to one play. Who was going to be Mariano Rivera? Who was going to be the closer? And fitting to the theme of this whole season, it was a team-wide effort for a gassed, overmatched defense. Bryce Huff got a pressure in on Caleb Williams. Yetur Gross-Matos got a pressure in on Caleb Williams, and he threw, and it bounced in the ground, and the 49ers won. Brock Purdy, the best quarterback in the league. There cannot be any more question about that. The way that he has delivered this season, the 49ers are now 6-0 ever since he's returned. Today, Brock Purdy channeled Joe Montana. He channeled Steve Young. He threw for 303 yards. He made a lot of people look stupid again with his 10-yard burst and one of the more sensational touchdowns that you'll ever see. He outdueled Caleb Williams, who was also really, really good today against the 49ers defense that did just enough. One of the most epic bend but don't break 49ers, one of the most epic bend but don't break 49ers defensive performances of all time. One of the best bend but don't break performances that you'll ever see. I mean, they were just absolutely torched over and over again, but they bent all the way to the 2-yard line, and then they got the stop at the very end of this game. You cannot script the drama that we just saw out there on the field. Happy birthday to my uncle, Jim Lombardi. I know that they're all watching at his birthday party in, I believe, Arroyo Grande down on the Central Coast. He's a big 49ers fan. I'm sure they're all happy watching this right now. He gets featured in our biggest instant reaction of quite some time. This was definitely an instant classic. Where do we even start? I mean, statistically, this game got off to a crazy start. Brock Purdy had to do this the hard way. First play of the game, Juwan Jennings ran a sloppy route. Jalen Johnson out of Fresno Central High School, shout out to the 559, pounced on the lazy slant, knocked it up into the air. It turned into a pick six. On that pick six, Trent Williams pulled his hamstring. So Brock Purdy had to outduel Caleb Williams without George Kittle, who was ruled out of this game before it started, without his star left tackle, Trent Williams, obviously without Brandon Ayuk. Brock Purdy had to go toe-to-toe with, and without a defense, he had to go toe-to-toe with Caleb Williams under extremely adverse circumstances, and he responded with a legendary performance today. 24 of 33, 303 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception for Purdy, which was that initial pick six. Beyond that, he was essentially perfect. I thought that an extremely underrated part of this game, and this was like a great lightsaber battle. You could say that it was, I can make a couple of Star Wars analogies in this game, but you go Anakin against Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith, and just two masters going at it. Kyle Shanahan against Ben Johnson. This is going to be back and forth. The analytic clock management at the end of the first half ended up winning this game for the 49ers. Ben Johnson badly wanted the football last at the end of the first half, but Kyle Shanahan made sure he didn't get it, and you do have to credit the 49ers defense. Robert Saleh threw one of his best blitzes toward the end of that first half on 3rd down to stop the Bears. He got 2 stops early in the game. He got 1 stop at the end of the first half, and then he got 1 stop at the 2-yard line. He also held the Bears to a field goal with his defense on the penultimate drive. So the 49ers didn't have many stops in them, but they timed them at the exact right strategic spots to set this up for a victory. And then Brock Purdy obviously did the rest. The touchdown pass to Juwan Jennings was a strike of lightning over the middle of the field. I thought the 49ers might have scored too quickly. If you thought the 49ers scored too quickly, you can raise your hand. I think that there was great anxiety in this entire building in Levi's Stadium after that Juwan Jennings touchdown, still with over 2 minutes to go. Remember that the Bears had entered this game having won 6 times when they trailed in the final 2 minutes, which was an NFL record. And it looked like it was setting up for more of the same. But the 49ers defense, blitzing some downs, not blitzing other downs. There was a 4th down earlier in that drive when Saleh decided not to blitz after a blitz had worked earlier in the sequence. Finally, when that last play happened at the 2-yard line, I think what happened for the 49ers and their benefit was that the Bears just had less space to work with. The 49ers were gassed. They couldn't keep up with Luther Burden, the rookie, who runs a 4.4 40, starting with his first touchdown over the top against Jair Brown, to all the big catches that he made. I think it was 8 catches, 138 yards for Luther Burden. When everything became condensed on that last play, the 49ers finally had the wherewithal to cover the entire field. Mike is texting me right now, and I think we should pivot this away from the 49ers defense to talk about the 49ers offense and Brock Purdy. Mike says the media now has no choice but to speak the truth about Brock Purdy. We were doing it first on this channel. We've been going against the tide even when it was not popular. It should now become very, very popular to talk about Brock Purdy as one of the elite quarterbacks in this game. He has been the best quarterback in the NFL this season. Facts matter a whole lot more than your feelings. The facts today were that Purdy put up 42 points on this Bears defense without Trent Williams, without George Kittle, without Brandon Ayuk, with Ricky Pearsall banged up, with Christian McCaffrey laboring at the end of the game. Purdy did it with his legs. He did it with his arm. He spread the football out. There was a 3rd down throw in the 4th quarter to Ricky Pearsall that he went back to his 3rd read. He scanned the right side of the field back to the left side. I said Brock Brady to Mike over a text message after one of those 3rd down conversions happened. Purdy, you've seen the data that I put up, by far the best 3rd down performer in the league. More of that today. The 49ers were 7 of 10 on 3rd down. Absolutely masterful. 1 of 1 on 4th down. That was another big Brock Purdy conversion. I mean, this was a performance for the ages. He had to walk the ultimate tightrope. I mean, just think of a couple skyscrapers and think of a tightrope connecting the top of those 2 skyscrapers. The job that Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan, and the offense had to do today was walk along that tightrope while there was a ton of wind. I mean, the odds were against them because of how poorly this defense was playing and how well the Bears were moving the ball against the 49ers, and he crossed that tightrope to put up another 42-point performance. I said entering that final drive that in any sane world, 42 points is enough to win. And the 49ers defense made sure that it was indeed a sane world when they did get that stop at the very end. San Francisco had 496 yards of total offense. This thing got started absolutely crazy. The first quarter, Brock Purdy became the first quarterback in NFL history to throw a pick six, a touchdown pass, and run for a touchdown pass in the first quarter of a football game. So you knew that it was going to be wild from the very get-go. And then it just got crazier. We can go through the scoring in this football game. The Bears obviously were first on the TJ Edwards pick six that went off of Jalen Johnson's hands. But then the 49ers turned around, went right downfield. Jake Tonjes was huge in this game. Shout out to him with no George Kittle. Jake Tonjes, for a while, was leading the 49ers in receiving. 7 catches, 60 yards, all very needed in this game. Then Purdy scrambled 10 yards for a touchdown. It was 14-7. Don't forget that the 49ers defense got 2 massive stops against Caleb Williams and the Bears early in this football game. And even though it didn't seem like they were getting many stops, they weren't. But those 2, the math ended up working in the 49ers' favor because they did take a 14-7 lead after the initial pick six. Mike says, by the way, that the 49ers are playing Saturday night against the Seattle Seahawks, just as an update for all of you. Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern, that's wild, so it's going to be another short week for the 49ers. Not exactly advantageous for San Francisco, but Seattle had to fly back home from Carolina today. Anyway, at 14-7, that's when Caleb Williams hit Luther Burden over the middle. That was Jair Brown just took a terrible angle. The 49ers safeties were not taking good angles at all today. Williams, more accurate. That was a good accurate throw from the pocket, but in general today, more accurate running around than when he was in the pocket, which was just confounding to the 49ers defense, and it just created, the wires were crossing a lot for San Francisco's defense today, but the Bears tied it. McCaffrey, epic in the first half. He was He was just trampling over the Bears. His best run of the season, I think it was about 41 yards. He has not lost a step. That put the 49ers up 21-14. Then the Bears scored the big touchdown where the 49ers defensive line just stopped rushing. For whatever reason, they stopped rushing when it was a free play. You should do the opposite. So Williams hit Loveland for a 36-yarder. That was inexcusable. That set up the end of the first half where Purdy ran for 3 yards for a touchdown. And this, I think, was the underrated part of the game. If you knew that the defense wasn't going to stop the Bears or was going to really struggle to stop the Bears, you could not lose the end of half sequence because the Bears were going to get the ball first in the third quarter. So the 49ers did get a stop. They fired all their bullets. Their best bullets came from Robert Saleh to get a stop. He ran a blitz, I believe, with Tatum Bethune, and they got pressure with Keon White. Chris Kasarik schemed up something good up front. Forced the punt. It was a good punt. 49ers got the ball at their own 10, and Ben Johnson really wanted the ball back, and the 49ers were really patient. It was masterful, I thought, from Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy. On third down, short pass to Jake Tonjes, and they just bled out the clock at the end of the first half. If the 49ers had not done that at the end of the first half, the Bears would have gotten the ball back, probably scored, and then the math would not have worked for a 42-38 win. Obviously, the 49ers got behind in the second half after Austin Pleasance, who filled in for Trent Williams, gave up the pressure to Austin Booker. You knew that at some point Pleasance was going to blink, and unfortunately he did. That allowed the Bears to get a stop, and then the Bears took the lead with the field goal. But that was still enough room for Brock Purdy to work with because Brock Purdy is the best quarterback in the game. You could say it after me. Brock Purdy is the best quarterback in the NFL. He's number one across all of the efficiency metrics. At some point, production matters. At some point, merit matters. Football is a meritocracy. Football is not, okay, what can this guy be if he has a certain amount of potential based on where he was drafted. You saw it on the scramble drill throw to Kyle Juszczyk where Purdy split two defenders. He might be pick number 262, but what they don't want to tell you is that he has a first-rounder's physical skill set when it comes to movement ability, when it comes to the way that he bursts away from defenders, when it comes to how he knows how to step forward and backwards and to the side, and then obviously he processes the field at an extremely high level. Kyle Shanahan wanted a quarterback who can throw like Drew Brees and move like Lamar Jackson, and he has that in Brock Purdy. He can't run a 40 like Lamar Jackson, but he can move in short areas like Lamar Jackson. He can move in short, the way that he's able to contort his body, to step forward, to step back, to feel the rush coming, to feel the scramble drill, and then see downfield is absolutely elite. It is worthy of a first-round talent. Pick number 262 is completely irrelevant. The media, the trolls, the haters, they can get over themselves. You are watching one of the great talents in this game, and he has the rightful spot at the top of the quarterback rankings when it comes to all efficiency right now. That is what we saw on this field today. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise, because that's what the facts say, that's what the tape says, that's what the data says, and the 49ers were somehow able to win this game despite the fact that their defense gave up, 440 yards and 6.9 yards per play to the Bears. But the 49ers won up them with Purdy, 496 yards, 7.3 yards per play for San Francisco's offense. Ricky Pearsall, 85 yards receiving. Tonjes, huge. They should get George Kittle back next week. So now the 49ers are going to play the Seahawks on Saturday night. So they're going to have to turn this around on another short week. Thankfully, they had the bye late in the year in early December. The 49ers-Seahawks game on Saturday night here at Levi's Stadium, I'm in the engineering room right now, is going to be for the number 1 seed in the NFC. So, you go back to the 2019 game, the final game of the decade, where the 49ers played Seattle for the number 1 seed up there in the Pacific Northwest, and it came down to an inch, right? That was Dre Greenlaw making the stop on Jacob Hollister. This was reminiscent of that. This wasn't all too different of a feeling. I'm sure everybody's hearts were in their throats on the last drive of the game as the 49ers made that stop. Well, it was the same situation. You're up, 4 points? I think they're up 5 against Seattle back in 2019 for the 1 seed, and they made that stop just barely. And today that ball skipped into the dirt just barely for the 49ers to stay alive for the 1 seed. So some 2019 vibes, some definite 2023 vibes with how elite this offense is. the 49ers with 10 touchdown passes or 10 total touchdowns for Brock Purdy over the course of the past 2 weeks. He's led the league in everything since he has come back from the turf toe injury. Christian McCaffrey's over 2,000 total yards on this season. They have him as an absolute weapon. I mean, the Seahawks have struggled a little bit offensively. I'm not sure if it matters against this 49ers defense that's a complete gas can. But again, it's about the clutch stops. If you make the clutch stops, it could be total torture. The 2010 San Francisco Giants, it was total torture on their way to a World Series championship. But they had an epic pitching staff. The 49ers, this defense is playing torture football, but they have the best quarterback in the game. You know, they have the Tim Lincecum of the 2025 49ers is Brock Purdy. People don't believe that he could be that good, maybe because his stature isn't as tall. You don't think that he should be doing what he's doing, but he is doing what he's doing. It's freakish, it's crazy, but he led the 49ers on this tightrope to this win today, and then the defense did just enough, just like that 2010 Giants lineup did just enough. So this is where the 49ers find themselves right now. They are now 4 home wins away from hoisting a Lombardi trophy. They don't have to win next week against the Seattle Seahawks, but it would be very recommended because if they lose, they'll likely be the 6th seed and they'll likely have to head to Philadelphia. And with Trent Williams now dealing with a hamstring injury, I don't think you want to go to Philadelphia playing Austin Pleasance at left tackle. But if they can find a way to beat a Seahawks team that has not been as good over the course of the past month and a half or so, the offense has fallen a little bit off for the Seattle Seahawks, then you could start talking about home field advantage, a return of Trent Williams on around January 17th when the playoffs would start, and wins in the divisional round and the championship game, and a return of Fred Warner. Talked to him out on the field today. I mean, the possibilities are endless if the 49ers can find a way to win against Seattle here at Levi's Stadium next week. But first, they had to beat the Bears. They had to withstand Caleb Williams. They had to withstand a defense that was leaking absolute oil. They had to clutch up at just the right times. I'm sure fans who have been around for long enough can remember the 1981 49ers. After Joe Montana threw the touchdown pass to Dwight Clark, the defense had to be opportunistic and it had to make a stop, and they forced a fumble and they fell on it, and the 49ers beat the Cowboys and went to the Super Bowl, where they had a goal line stop from Dan Bunz, which was a lot like the Dre Greenlaw stop in 2019. I mean, you get all these convergences of 49ers history moving into one spot here for San Francisco, and we could compare all these epic moments of the past. So many of them happened in this one game with so much on the line, and Brock Purdy and company were ultimately able to come through. Mike, is Kyle starting yet? I've got to head over to the locker room and the press conference if Kyle does start at some point. We've got over 5,000 live viewers, though, so I'm going to be heading in that direction here soon. Again, you have seen, quite possibly, the greatest bend but don't break defensive outing in 49ers history. They bled yardage until they could bleed yardage no more, and somehow they won this game 42-38. Insanity. Brock Purdy at the top of the league. He should get George Kittle back next week. We'll see when he gets Trent Williams back, but Purdy's the type of quarterback who can elevate a system even if that system doesn't have its star left tackle, who can elevate a system even if it doesn't have its all-world tight end. Even if its running back is, I don't know if Christian McCaffrey was cramping or whatever was happening at the end, but this is the most live viewers that this channel has ever had. So I'm going to give you guys a quick little tour here of the Levi's Stadium engineering room as we wrap this up because we've got to walk out. 49ers 42, the Chicago Bears 38. The Bears eliminated from 1-seed contention, and the 49ers are now going to try to honor the legacy of the past, which you can see right here. This is Roger's office. There's Bill Walsh, that's taken from Candlestick Park, and obviously you could appreciate some of the great moments of 49ers history. There's Dwight Clark against the Cowboys. This game channeled some of that energy, Brock Purdy to Jawan Jennings. This game channeled some of this energy, Vernon Davis. The catch 3, that's the catch 1. This is the catch 3. Obviously, Super Bowl Joe Montana energy. I mean, there's a lot of history that the 49ers performed on top of today, and this game will go down as part of that history. Purdy, magnificent. 49ers win. Congratulations, you just watched one of the greatest games in 49ers franchise history.